Flaming Sword here, back again once again, and today people today, I'm coming at you with my customized deck profile for this specific deck, a size 3 Duel Jaeger deck. Now, this is going to seem a little bit strange on why I decided to make a Duel Jaeger deck that is only for mostly size 3s. Well, that's because it's just I wanted to customize my own deck. And that's how it's gonna go. But for the beginning, for my buddy, I run 3 copies of the Colossal Ocean Chief Duel Jaeger. I only run 3 of him because that's how it is, and got it from the structure deck. He might be replaced with one card that it's going to be next after this I'm going to reveal, and it's going to be the main buddy. So for the 1 copy of Searing Teku Chief Duel Jaeger, this is the one that I'm going to be trying to get multiple copies of, so I can use this one as the buddy instead. Because this one's really good, and it's the main key to this deck, besides the Duel Jaegers. For him, if I have 5 or more size 3 monsters on the field, gets a +1 crit and penetrate, and discarding a size 3 monster, if I do, restance. So it gives it additional attacks to each time it already attacks. So this one's really good to pile up the size 3 Dragon Chief Emperors, mostly size 3s, but mostly the Dragon Chief Emperors for the other specific evolutions. Next, I run 2 copies of Overturned Chief Duel Jaeger. Definitely love this card if I want to do like a quick OTK. Just to use this overturn, discard during the main phase. Top 5 card to the deck into his soul. Gets a +1 credit for each monster in his soul. Definitely really good for that. For that quick OTK occasion. Now for the evolutions, I run 4 copies of the Great Ocean Deity Duel Jaeger Season. Caesarion, or whatever. Anywho, this card is really good for the fact that I can just call it from a Duel Jaeger with no cards in his soul. And this can be used on itself as well. So you can just have this to remain the field, call another one, and then call another. And then when it enters the field, it destroys a monster on the opponent's field. Definitely good for that, and then it gets double attack. Gains double attack with 2 crit, so it's not that bad. Normally I run that for some occasions. Finally, for the final evolution of the Duel Jaegers, the Unequaled Immortal Chief Duel Jaeger Gaio Bust. This is my 2 copy of it. Love this the most. I could just put this on top of a Duel Jaeger, paying 3 to gauge, and if I have 15 or more Dragon Chief Emperors in my drop zone, gets a +1 crit and a penetrate. And during the battle, I could pay 2 gauge, and it gets a 10,000 power and 10,000 defense, and it has triple attack. So this card is really good for that situation. Definitely good. Next up, running 2 copies of Wealthy Chief $1 Million Kin. Definitely love this one, just to call it out during the first turn and then attack. Also, because when it's destroyed, including on the Soul Guard ability, send the top card of the deck into the drop zone, and then the top card of the deck into the gauge. And it has double attack, counter attack, and double attack. So this one is really good just for me to have that many gauges to increase it, to do that extra stuff for the size 3s. And finally, for the size 3s, I run 4 copies of Iron Fist Chief Strong Go. I only run 4 of him because of that good, just to pay the gauge on top, call, attack for 3, then Soul Guard, keeping the feel for that, just for that reason. Now for my size 2s, for the main special one, 2 copies of Chief of Armors Under the Ken. Definitely love running this card, but I'm thinking of, I'm keeping this at 2, but I'm going to get 4 copies of this for a different Duel Jaeger deck, which y'all are going to love it. because that deck is going to have at least 15 to 20 negates. And it's going to be credited to the YouTuber who made that deck. It's going to be credited towards him because that was the main key deck I want to build. So there's that. Then I run 3 copies of Rock Dragon Emperor Viragos. You might be asking me, why do I run a size 2 Dragon Lord in this deck when it's mostly for Dragon Chief Emperors? Good question. Yeah, and the main reason is because of its ability for size 3s, discard, and gain 2 life. So this deck is kind of like a Dragon Swy build, but it's like you just gain your life and it's going to make itself become like that. Finally, 2 copies of Chief of Wind Messenger Jin. Definitely love it. Enters the field, a size 3 Dragon Chief Emperor from the drop zone added to the hand. Sometimes at occasions you don't get the Searing Taku Duel Jaeger. And if it's in the drop zone, you can call this, add this back to your hand, and do all that extra stuff. So that's why I like it running with him, just for that situation. On to the spells. I run 4 copies of Dragon Emperor Legend. And yes, I did got the secret rare version of the Dragon Chief of Dragon Emperor Legend. Definitely love this one. Just a regular of charge, draw, gain a life, once per turn effect. Definitely good. Next up are the 3 copies of Divine Dragon Creation. Love it just to pay 2 life and then draw 2 cards. I might get 4 copies of this because it's really good for that ability. And it actually makes the deck a bit faster for that particular reason only. Next up, I run 3 copies of Dragon Dreams. Okay, sorry about that. Anywho, the card I run for 3 copies on this next one is Dragon Dreams. Dragon Dreams just to gain 3 life, and this isn't once per turn, so you can activate, get your 9 life quick. And if you have it in all 3 in your hand, or 2 or 1, just to do that. Next up, 2 copies of Rise and Fall of Dragons. Just to pay 2 life and top 4 cards of the deck into the gauge. Just to have that extra gauges when there are situations that I want to use my Duel Jaeger cards and I don't have any. Next up, I run 3 copies of a Dragon's Will. This one is better, in my opinion, of a defense spell for Dragon Chief Emperors than the other one I'm using right now for the side deck. Because this one, it just doesn't cost anything. And the top card of the deck goes into the gauge. So that's like a free cost. And the only main condition is, which this deck mostly is easy to do, is if there's a size 3 Dragon, if there's a size 3 monster being attacked. So that makes it easy. Next up, I run 2 copies of Dragon Soul Infusion. Definitely love this. Top 2 cards of the deck go into the drop zone, and if there are Dragon Chief Emperors among them, charge and draw. Definitely good. 1 copy of Dragon Within the Ocean. It's kind of like my risky card, but sometimes I only run 1 copy of it because it makes it easy if I just want to pay a gauge, gain a life, pay a life and have a Searing Taku Chief Duel Jaeger or any of the Duel Jaegers that I don't have, or any other size 3 Dragon Chief Emperors. If I don't have them, it's just in case if I'm running in a situation that I can't get them out on the field. That's why I run that 1. Because it's not like too needed, but it's needed at times. Next up, finally, for the spells, 1 copy of Havoc and Dragonland. Love this one. Love. You could just target a size 3 monster, or if you have a size 3 or greater on the field, destroy the size 3 or lower. Gain gauge equal to the number of a monster size and life. So it can really help out with that situation. For items, I only run two copies of Ocean Boy's Anchor Ripple, just to attack even if the opponent has monster in the center, and 2 crit. That's the only reason why I run this. I mean, I don't have most of the items, but yeah. Anywho, now for the impacts. 3 copies of Big Catch Kaigen, Ocean Cleaving, Twin Dragon Wave. Love this one because of 3 life or less. If you have a size 3 monster on the field, deal 3 damage. That's all it does. Because this deck is all size 3s, so that makes it easier, and you don't have to equip an item for that final phase. Finally, for the final impact, Unmatched in All Seas, Birth of the Chief. I only run one of it because just to get the extra 4th in. But with this one, just to pay 1 gauge, and then put this card on top, along with a card in the drop zone, into a soul of a size 3 monster. Abilities cannot be nullified. Definitely only good about this one as well is as long as this card is in the soul, you can just keep it evolving like your Duel Jaegers, and it will instantly, abilities cannot be nullified each time you evolve your Duel Jaegers, as long as that card is in the soul. Now, I have a side deck board as well. So, for my side deck, I run 3 copies of Invincible Bonds, Ricky, and the Raging Spirits. Just pretty good. If I would call a size 3 Ancient War monster, the gauge call cost and its call cost is reduced by 1. Definitely good for that. Next up, I'll running 1 copy of Corrosion Parothesis. Definitely good just to enter the field, discard into the soul of a monster. When it attacks, you gain a life, and then if this card is in the soul, all monsters on my field, they cannot be put into other areas by card effects. Definitely good for that. 1 copy of Dragon's Temper. When the size 3 monster is being targeted for attack, pay a gauge, nullify it, and put a card from the drop zone into the size 3 monster's soul. So it's really good just for that, just to get additional soul whenever you're in a situation spots. 2 more copies of Havoc in Dragonland. Definitely run for that. 2 more copies of Rise and Fall of Dragons. Love it. And 3 copies of Trying a Dragon's Best. Now, this is the card that I say that A Dragon's Will is better than this one. Because this one, all you have to do is only activate it if your life is 5 or more. You just pay that life and nullify the attack, top card into the gauge. This card is not, really good for the defense, because what if you just only had, 2 of this out? Your life at 5, you just activated 1, your life at 4, and you can't activate the other one because your life isn't higher than 5 or more, so you're screwed with just an empty one and taking multiple hits. That's why I prefer Dragon's Will over that. And finally, 1 copy of The Ledge of Life. Definitely love this card, just to, whenever a card from the top of my deck goes to the drop zone, draw a card, and I can send this card into the drop zone and nullify all life links, and it can only run 1 copy of it in the field. So this card is just good because of that, because of the Dragon Soul Infusion, and just to mill, and then gain draw, charge draw, gain additional draw. Makes it really good for that. That's basically it going to be for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video much as I did. Now, this deck is just kind of like my own custom version. It's not really all that great. But comment below if you want to see any other deck profiles that I'm doing, or or a specific deck that you want me to build for you and see it in the action. Comment below on all that. I definitely recommend it because I do deck profiles for other people that they want to see. Like for example, this one I'm trying to build completely is the Star Sentinel Zodiac deck for this one person that I consider as a good friend. And that's why I do this, because I just love making decks. I just love making them, and just especially specializing in their own unique way, or in the way of a style, and just make and customize it. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Flaming Zard here. I'm out.